I want to welcome you back to the Sovereign Kitchen Society. I am Molly Bravo, and today we are going to talk about something that literally drives me absolutely bonkers. We're going to talk about the grocery store. Now, we're not going to necessarily be talking about the food inside of it because the food is totally fine. The problem is actually what happens when we get inside of those sliding doors because we all know that it's an issue. So you go in, you're going to go in for some chicken and broccoli. You come out, you have like $180 worth of stuff. And you've ordered hummus and the fancy crackers, and then all of these little niblets and yummies that are on the end caps when you're waiting in line and you're kind of hungry. And then you might get a rotisserie chicken that you didn't even realize that you needed because you forgot that you already had a plan for that chicken. If that sounds familiar, good, because that tells me that we're absolutely in the right place and that we actually have a solution to your problem, which I am super stoked on. Now, we're not talking about willpower. We're not going to have some weird little pep talk. I am going to share with you a system that actually works when you go to the grocery store. Because as we all know, the goal that we are doing is to fix the leak in our grocery habits. And I want to show you how to save money, purchase better ingredients, and plug the hole. We want to fix the leak. So, if this is your first time here, welcome. This is a podcast about taking back control of your kitchen, your food, your life. We're talking about old world skills for modern families. We're talking about real food, real talk, no fluff. We're gathering the kind of wisdom that our grandparents had and that they carried with them so that we can pass that information on to the next generation before it's lost. We're talking about food sovereignty. We're talking about what that means, what that actually looks like. And I want you to know that it's not just some trendy hashtag. It is real life, and it is so important that we understand how to take care of ourselves, how to nurture and feed our families, and how to live more sustainable lives so that we are not stuck in this perpetual hamster wheel of working harder to just barely scrape by. There is a way to step off the hamster wheel. This is one tiny little spoke in that wheel, okay? There's so much more to the puzzle, but if you can just start somewhere, that's where we want to begin. So, here is a number that I'm going to share with you, and it's probably going to make your little stomach do a little flip-floppy, and that is okay. The average American household wastes pretty much like a third of the food that they actually buy. We're talking 32% of food is thrown away and wasted every single week because we don't get around to cooking it and the produce goes bad and we throw it in the garbage. Researchers at Penn State have actually tracked this, and what we've discovered, or what they have discovered, is that you're going to push your grocery cart through the store, you're going to load it up, you're going to bring it home, and then pretty much a third of what you literally just paid for is going to be lit on fire, and you can just kiss it goodbye. For a family of four, we're talking nearly $3,000 a year in food that you have purchased and you're never going to eat. So you got to really think about that, and you need to think about where your dollars are going. And when it's hard to put food on the table, or when you feel like you're working extra hard, just remember that this is an opportunity for us to work smarter, not harder. That's what we want to do. So, impulse buying is basically when you're purchasing a bunch of stuff that you didn't actually plan on purchasing. And that accounts for 62% of the grocery store revenue in some product categories. So the store is literally designed for you to use and lose the plot by the time that you get to aisle 3. That's like when you move from the outside of the grocery store aisles inward. That's where they make all of their money. And it is designed like that on purpose. So just keep that in mind. The end caps are things that are filled with all eye level placement. The bakery is designed to pump the smell of chocolate chip cookies and bread throughout the store. So just like think about Costco whenever you go into Costco and all of the smells, and then all of the little snacks that you purchase along the way that you didn't even plan for. So that's all created by design. And when we go grocery shopping, we need to be aware of what we're stepping into. It's kind of like stepping into a casino, like once you understand what they're doing, you can plan better so that you're not hemorrhaging a bunch of cash that you didn't plan on spending. When I first started paying attention to this and I was really tracking what I was spending versus what I actually used, I got kind of mad at myself. And it was because, holy cow, I should know better. I'm a chef. I know how to eat. I know all about food. And here I was just walking in and out of grocery aisles, purchasing a bunch of stuff I didn't need. And then I would leave the store filled with so many snacks that I hadn't even planned on. And by the time Friday rolled around, I really had nothing left in my fridge of nutritional value. And I had just hemorrhaged like $200 worth of cash. So that is truly the moment that I realized that there has to be more to this than just knowing how to eat and knowing about food. We have to know how to also make decisions. And I know that that sounds so weird, and you're probably thinking, gosh, Molly, like, what a boring topic. No, this is a super important topic because we are all struggling to make ends meet. And if we can figure out ways to eat better, source better, save money, that is like a win-win because we get to spend more time with our families and spend time doing things that we actually enjoy. We can save money to like get our kids braces or to go get a pedicure instead of just wasting it on food that's going to end up getting thrown away at the end of the week. Now, a lot of advice out there is going to tell you resist the temptation, make better choices, have more discipline. That is total BS. We all know that that doesn't work. Willpower is a very finite resource. It's great when you first wake up in the morning and you have a lot of gumption. And by the end of the day, when you're exhausted and you're hungry and you need to think of something to make for dinner, you're going to make really bad decisions. So every nutritional scientist, every behavioral psychologist is going to tell you the same thing. Decision fatigue is a very real thing. And by the time you've gotten your kids out the door, you've handled work, you've dealt with all of the traffic, you've walked into a store with like 30,000 products to choose from, your brain is fried and you're definitely not going to be making the best choices in that moment because you're basically just surviving at that point. And the grocery store knows this. The average American supermarket carries over 31,000 products. Like, wrap your brain around that. That is so many products. They know how to get us. So you're walking through a maze that is built by people who have studied human behavior for a living. The milk is always in the back of the grocery store for a reason. Did you know that? And the candy is always at the checkout. It's there for a reason. The end cap sale is like not even fair because they just know you're going to pick something up, just a little something, and all of those pennies end up adding up. So you have to stop blaming yourself, and you have to understand that the system is designed to make us overspend, and your job, now that you're aware of it, is to outsmart it. So how do you do that? My grandmother, I don't know about yours, but my grandmother did not wander around a grocery store wondering what she was going to make for dinner. She literally knew what she was going to make. She knew what she needed. She cooked the same core meals every single week. She rotated them. She did not waste a thing because back in the Great Depression, you couldn't afford to waste food. We have lost that. And somewhere between the invention of the mega supermart like Costco and the rise of food influencers, we have started to think about eating as an experience, as an event. And that's totally amazing. And it definitely has its place. But when we're losing the basic skills like cooking, that is not good. We need to know how to feed ourselves. We need to know how to preserve our food. We need to know how to shop efficiently if we want to get our money back. So here is where we're going to get practical. I have built these 2 cart templates, okay? And you can grab them on our website. They're totally free, but I want to walk you through the thinking and the thought process behind them because the templates are useless if you don't understand how to actually use them. So the first thing is we have this thing called the $100 solo cart. And that is for the person that is single, doesn't have any kids. Maybe you have a partner that you're living with and shopping for. But for the most part, your weekly grocery run is built around one anchor protein. And the anchor protein is basically like the centerpiece of your week. That's how you could think of it. So we're talking like one roasted chicken or ground beef or a really nice side of salmon. So we're talking one protein that you are going to buy in a larger quantity. You're going to cook it once, and then you're going to build 2 or 3 different meals around it. So the second thing is that when you are purchasing all of your ingredients and you're thinking about the fact that you have this one protein, you are going to make 2 to 3 different meals around it. What you need to be thinking of is the rest of your cart, your grocery cart, is going to be filled with produce. It's going to be filled with pantry staples. It's going to be filled with a few items that you can mix and match so that you're having an assortment of different meals, all based around that one protein. So this assumes that you have like all of the essentials at your house, like you have the oil and the salt and the spices. If you don't, then obviously you're going to need to purchase that as well. But we're talking about the bare bones of this cart. It should cost you less than $100 for a week. That's pretty good. The second template that I want to talk to you about is the $200 family starter cart. We're going to use the same logic. We're going to scale it up for a family of 3 or 4. We're going to focus on larger proteins. We're going to focus on more produce. We're going to focus on kid family additions. So this isn't about depriving ourselves. It's not about eating boring rice and beans for an entire week and living super frugally. What we're talking about is building structure around our grocery cart so that we're not purchasing a bunch of stuff that doesn't satiate us and fill us up. We are focused on building nutrient-dense meals for our family that are going to keep us full longer, and ultimately it's going to save us money in the long run. Structure means that every single item on our list has a purpose, right? So, like the chicken, we know that we're going to get 3 meals out of that at least. The bag of rice that we're going to purchase for 80 cents, we know that we're going to get multiple meals out of that for a family of 4. Sweet potatoes, we know that we can get multiple meals out of sweet potatoes because they're super hearty, they're super warming. So nothing is in our cart without a purpose. Now, here is something that's important. Your family size and where you live are going to obviously change the math on the cost of what we're purchasing, right? So, like, if you live in a super high cost area, feeding your family or feeding more than 4 people is going to probably cost you a little bit more money. So, what we want to focus on is the framework, and we don't necessarily want to think about or cap ourselves out at the ceiling of $100 or $200. If you've got like 8 people in your family, you're going to have to spend a little bit more money. But what we want to focus on is the structure of the process. And the reason that this works is pretty simple. When you walk into the grocery store and you have a pre-built cart, meaning you have a plan, you don't need to make decisions. You execute the list, you don't wander around, you don't browse, you don't think, oh, that looks good, I'm gonna go pick up those waffles in that freezer section. Nope, you're in, you're out, you're done with it. You save time, you save money, and that is a win-win. So the next thing is that the cart is actually going to end up fixing what you purchase. This next piece fixes how you eat throughout the week, because the other half of an impulse buy is spending money at the store on things that you do not need. Let's just say, for example, it's 7 o'clock in the morning and you are staring into your fridge and you're trying to figure out what you're going to have for breakfast. And it is time to go to school and you don't know what to make. You're going to focus on what you actually have. So maybe you have some eggs, maybe you have some fruit. You're going to just work with what you have because you know you can't go to the grocery store, right? We want to use the same perspective when we're going to the store at 5:30 at night and we're super hungry and we need food on the table. We want to stick with what is on the list, not what sounds good to us in the moment. We're going to talk for a moment about no decision breakfasts. I think this is also really important. I want you to pick one breakfast. I want you to try your best to eat it every single weekday, just for 1 week. So like maybe it's eggs and toast, maybe it's oatmeal, maybe it is yogurt and granola or a smoothie, whatever the heck it is, whatever you love to eat. Focus on that, because the point is that you never stand in front of your refrigerator or your pantry at 7 a.m. trying to figure out what you're going to have for breakfast. The wondering is taken away. It saves you money, again, and it saves you time, which we totally love. I have attempted this so that I know what it actually takes to eat the same thing every single day for 7 days. And I can tell you that I have had the exact same breakfast for the last 5 days. I just do a little oatmeal. I put some blueberries in there from my freezer. Easy peasy, it's done. I know I'm getting my fiber. I know that I'm going to be full. I know that I can go work out, call it a day. I'm not spending tons of money. I want to also talk to you about 2 auto dinners. So these 2 auto dinners are going to come straight from your Anchor protein that you purchased earlier in the week. You've already prepped it. You already know what that protein is going to become. You have 2 nights a week where dinner is already decided. You don't have to think about it. All you have to do is execute the meal. So if your Anchor protein is a pork shoulder, for example, night 1 might be pulled pork tacos. And then night 2 might turn into a fried rice bowl. Or you might put a little bit of pulled pork on top of a baked sweet potato with a little bit of greens. Sounds super good, right? Like you don't need to deprive yourself. You could still eat super nutrient dense, delicious food when you prepare it the right way. Let's talk about a default lunch. So you have your Anchor protein, you're eating the same breakfast every day for a week just to see what it feels like, just to see if you can actually maintain. And you've already got your 2 default dinners planned. What are you going to be doing for lunch? So for lunch, you might use that leftover protein and put it over a bed of greens, or you might turn it into a wrap, or you might turn it into a bowl of broth with whatever you have extra in the fridge that you don't want to go bad. I like to call it everything but the kitchen sink at my house. What we're trying to do is we're trying to think about ways to assemble a meal, not actually cook. Because the other part of this is that we want to be able to get meals out quickly, like in under 30 minutes. Because when our kids are coming home from soccer and we're super tired and we're trying to get dinner on the table, the last thing you want to be doing is stressing about what to make for dinner and then sitting in front of that stove for an hour or more and then doing dishes on top of it. It's like way too much. So let's just simplify. Let's take the stress out of our lives. Let's eat better. Let's save some money. And let's be conscious about what we're doing. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to share with you guys. So, this is how our great grandmothers ate. They didn't have fancy like online recipe blogs that they could follow. All they had were the things that they made all the time, the staples, and it worked out great. Like Monday was a wash day, so dinner was probably something really simple. And Sunday was the big day where they spent all day cooking. And then the rest of the week, you could just eat off of what you made on Sunday. When you are stacking these 3 defaults, the automated breakfast, the 2 auto dinners, the 1 default lunch, you have just eliminated a majority of your weekly food decisions. How awesome is that? Which means that you have eliminated the majority of your impulse spending and at the store and at the drive-through. Like you're not even doing it anymore. You're probably saving $50 minimum per week just by doing this one little shift. I want you to try it. I really want to know if this works for you because I know that it worked for me. And if it does work for you, come back. Let me share with you some more information that will help you put more money in your pocket, source better ingredients, and help you have more time with your family or spending time doing the things that you really love to do, because that is what it is all about. The average American family of 4 spends probably close to $165 a week on the basic necessities for groceries. At least that's like what the data shows. I probably spend way more than that, but I would say a third of that, about $65 a week, is going towards the food that they end up throwing away at the end of the week. And that really adds up. It adds up to almost $3,000 per year that went straight from the cart into the garbage. You can stop that. I want you to then layer on all of the impulse spending that we were talking about throughout this whole episode. So, even conservative estimates have put that another $150 a month goes into unplanned purchases. And some of those do end up getting eaten, but a lot of them don't. And then, of course, there is the ghost spending that we all are witness to, and that's the takeout that we order because we are just too plum tuckered to cook. And so we like to do something nice for ourselves and order some takeout. So when you add up all of this stuff, the average family is leaking somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 a year just by being disorganized. That is a lot of cash, okay? That money is not because you eat too much, it's because you're stepping into a grocery store without a plan. So that's the reason why I'm sharing all of this with you, because it's like when you put it in that perspective, that's real money. And that is money that you could be putting back in your pocket. That is money that would allow you to work a little less and spend a little bit more time with your family. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. So I have built something that I hope will help you see exactly where your money's going. And that is, of course, the grocery leak calculator that hopefully you are going to try if you haven't tried already. It's totally free. You plug in a couple of your numbers, like what you spend in a week, where you go shopping, what you waste your food on or what you waste your money on, and how often you are ordering out. And then it's going to show you where you're leaking money. And it's not just some random guess, it's like very, very accurate. So I want you to come back next week. We are going to continue this conversation. I want to help you plug your grocery leak. Super easy to do. I'm going to show you tips and tricks on how I shop, what I do, how I source better, and how I eat seasonal, how I've started to make a couple of things at home so that I'm not spending that money at the grocery store. I will see you next time. I want you to remember that food is and always will be our medium for connection. I am Molly. This is the Sovereign Kitchen Society. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you on the flip.